Hey, welcome to Scary Stories with Mori. Let's go. This first story is by Zealous Ideal I 836 from r/paranormal encounters. I moved around a lot as a kid. We were the kind of family that would have boxes that would always go unopened and undisturbed between moves. My dad was a good guy, but had an issue with authority, so he usually had issues keeping a stable job for more than a year or so. When the lease was up, we'd move closer to his new job. Anyways, during one of those moves, my dad found a steal next to his job. It was an old 2-bed, 1-bath house with a detached garage. I want to say it was around $300 a month for rent in 2003. Apparently, it was in a rough part of town. The landlord told us, I won't go into specifics, but I'm required to tell you that someone has passed away in this house within the last 5 years. My dad saw a great deal and shrugged it off. We moved in soon after, and things started very quickly. There were noises in the house all the time. It was like we had other people living there. It would generally be noises that you'd expect when other people were around. Things like drawers opening and closing, doors swinging around on their own, water turning on in the bathroom, and then back off. Nothing malicious was happening, so we just lived with it. Another weird quirk about the house was that the front door had a keyhole on both sides, so you could not leave the locked house unless you had the keys. You can probably guess where this is going. But not a week or so after we moved in, we'd lost the keys. Boxes still littered the house, and we were still in unpacking hell, so my dad, obviously stressed from the whole situation, started getting loud about the keys. He accused me of stealing them. He was cursing and being a general pain. Then out of nowhere, we hear the keys hit the floor in the living room right in front of the couch, right onto the floor. Picks them up, tries to rationalize what just happened, says F it, and leaves the house for work. Over the next few months, the stupid keys are the center of the activity. My dad would put them in a glass bowl on top of our tube TV every day after work, and somehow they would be moved by the morning. My favorite spot by far was when he found them in a sealed box of pots and pans that we needed to unpack. It had those little handle holes on the side of the box, and it's like someone just shoved them in the hole out of spite. We all had a good laugh out of that one. Right now you're probably like, okay, what's spine-chilling about some noises and some keys moving around? Well, here you go. The worst thing that happened fairly frequently was the stomping. Most nights around 2 to 3 a.m., there would be very heavy footsteps pacing in the hallway outside of our bedrooms. I confirmed with my dad when I was older that yes, it kind of freaked him out too. We'd been living in this space for about 8 months at this point, and I was probably around 8 years old. I heard the stomping one night and I just couldn't take it. I screamed out into the hallway, "Stop stomping around! I need to sleep, god damn it!" 15 seconds of silence was abruptly interrupted by what sounded like a bull running full speed to my room. Then my door had 3 very aggressive slamming knocks, one after the other. It was so loud my dad woke up and came to check on me. My stomach started to turn, and I suddenly felt like I had to use the toilet. I was frozen in bed when I heard my dad call out to me, "You okay, buddy?" from his bedroom. I mustered up the courage to head out to the hallway. As I got up, I could tell something wasn't right. I was shaking like a leaf and my bowels were trying to evacuate while I was walking. I ran as fast as I could to the toilet, but it did not help. There was a trail from about halfway between my bedroom and the toilet, and my poor dad, worried about my safety, followed me into the bathroom to figure out what the hell just happened. I explained everything, crying on the toilet, making a mess of myself in the house. I was embarrassed and terrified. After this, my dad told me, "If you ever feel uncomfortable, you can come sleep in my room. Nothing can bug you while I'm around." The final straw came a week later. My dad had been dating a girl for over a year, and she had been staying with us more and more. One of these nights she stayed over. They had a really minor fight right before bed. I think it was about cleaning or chores. Anyways, they both went to bed grumpy about it. Right around that magic 2 to 3 a.m. mark, his girlfriend got yanked out of bed by one of her ankles and got dragged out of the bedroom and down the hallway. By her account, she woke up after she was on the floor and felt someone pulling on her leg, and it took her a while to realize exactly what was happening. She shrieked, and whatever it was, let go. She ran back into the bedroom and turned the lights on and explained the whole thing to my dad. He sent me off to my aunt's house and stayed in the house alone for a few months while looking for another place to go. Figured it would be safer without me there. During the packing and moving of the house, my dad had some friends swing by to keep him company while he packed. Almost everyone who came by to help mentioned they saw a small white dog walking around right when they entered the house. Bonus extra DLC story. My dad's girlfriend had brought a yoga ball to the house, and as a rambunctious 8-year-old, I wanted to play with it all the time. She tells me I can play with it, but I have to be careful. So we lightly toss it back and forth down the hallway, After a minute or two, I toss the ball and it freezes mid-air before it makes it to her and comes right back to me. She was mortified. I was too young to realize what happened, and she didn't want to freak out her boyfriend's 8-year-old son. So she quickly just said she didn't want to play with it anymore, and we went and did something else. That shit haunted, bro. That's haunted. Scary bullghost made you poop your pants. That's the worst. This next one's by a deleted user from r/true scary stories. So this story happened about 11 years ago. I was a senior in high school at the time, but it is the single most mind-boggling thing that I have ever experienced. It's also important to note that it happened in mid-December. I'm from Iowa, and the winters here get cold at night. Like, if you get stuck outside, you will die kind of cold. No thanks. That plus the snowfall makes everything dead silent. You can hear anything and everything inside the house, and even immediately outside of it. Well, me and my best friend were hanging out in my family's walkout basement, just having a boring winter night playing video games. We were also the only ones home. The reason it was just us is because my mother went from work straight to a bar to grab a few drinks with coworkers. So me and my friend thought it would be a good idea to break into the family wine and live a little. Party! Woo! As we were sitting there opening up the first bottle, I hear the door to the garage open and slam shut. I immediately go, oh shit, and start looking for places to hide the bottle. My friend then says, I thought you said your mom was supposed to be out all night. She was, I replied. I then heard a few heavy stomps and hear my mother yell out, Meowsin' Boo? Anyone home? I yell back up the stairs, yep, just hanging out in the basement. I hear a few more steps move from the garage door toward the stairs, and she yells out again, can you help me with something? I need you up here. I reply back while frantically trying to find a good place to hide the wine bottle. Yep, just give me a minute. Then there was silence for about 20 seconds. Anyone down there with you? She yelled back in a more concerned, serious tone, in a voice that was slightly off from my mother's. This was the first thing that told me something wasn't right. Our family never cared if anyone was over, as our house was a very open house to all family and friends. And the voice, it was just wrong. Like, it sounded like my mother's, but it was missing something that I couldn't put my finger on. Weirded out, I reply back, just Colton. After I yelled back to her, I found a good place to hide the bottle and began walking up the steps to the next level. Now, as I was walking up the steps, I couldn't help but feel the overbearing silence of the house, and the slight electric twinge that something wasn't right. When I got to the top of the steps, I look over to where the door to the garage is, and the kitchen right next to it, and it's black, pitch black, all the lights were off, and there was no moonlight shining through the windows. I walked over to the kitchen yelling out, Mom, where are you? There was no reply, just silence and darkness. I feel the electric twinge turn into full needles, and my adrenaline kicking in full force. I have to get out of here as fast as possible. My mother was not home. I run back down the stairs, grabbing my coat along the way. What's wrong? Colton says. My mom's not home, I reply as fast as I can, looking for my truck keys. What do you mean? You were just talking with her. I could see the confusion in his face. There's no one home. We need to leave now. I took a few steps toward the back door that opens up to the yard, and then I see my dog shaking on the couch, my cat growling behind it. I couldn't leave them. I just knew that if we left, something would happen. Are we leaving? Colton said, still confused as hell. No, I can't leave them here alone. Something is really off. I'm gonna call my mom and figure this out. I pull out my phone and call my mom. She immediately picks up. Meowsin' Boo? What's going on? She answers. Mom, were you just home? I heard you yelling for me from the second level, and when I went up, you weren't there? I said frantically, hoping that she was playing a joke. No, I'm just leaving the bar. I wasn't feeling very well. Are you okay? What do you mean you heard me? I fill her in on the whole story and she rushes home. Colton and I stayed in the basement with the animals until she got home. But before she did, you could hear something upstairs. Not walking or sitting on things, but a pressure in the air. A black hole was slowly moving from one room to the next, and the word that I would instinctively describe as hungry. When she got home, you could feel the thing leave just as quick as it came. Like an overbearing predatory presence had just flown away. We still have never figured out what the hell was going on. And this is just one story of many unexplainable things that have happened to us. But this is the easiest to write down, and the one that I was happy to have a witness. My mother has passed away now, and I have moved away to Arizona. But whenever I go back to Iowa and I see Colton, he still gets creeped out by what happened. I will never truly know what happened, but I know that whatever it was that had my mother's voice, it was evil and it was hungry. Very creepy. I can say that if I heard any familial voice and they weren't actually there, I'd get the fuck out of there too if I could. But I couldn't leave my dogs. I'd pack all the animals up in the truck and get the frick out. Get the frick out. Not worth it. Alright, this last one will be from Search and Rescue Woods, from r/no sleep. I'm a search and rescue officer for the US Forest Service. I have some stories to tell. Wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I'd figured I'd share them here. I've been a SAR officer for a few years now, and along the way I've seen some things that I think you guys will be interested in. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time they wander off path or just slip down a small cliff and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing and they don't wander far. But I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases that get called in. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time, both the kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked where the brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, and that he wanted to play with her brother for a while. The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair, like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched the area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, but we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she never came back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name before they called for help. Again, we searched everywhere, and we never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly gone. This is the last one I'll tell, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. Now, I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken, regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other SAR officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officers just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that I should never go anywhere near them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. Bruh. Staircases? In the woods? Like, does it go up or down? And where would that even take you, bro? That's crazy. Staircase to hell! The staircase phenomenon is something real with no real answer. No way. Could the stairs be lookout posts? I'm curious about that as well. But why stairs? Stairs that lead to what? If the stairs led to something, that would make sense. But that's why we love these stories, because they're inexplainable. They make no sense, and we love it. Thanks for joining me for Scary Stories with Mori. Do you have any scary stories? Would you like to recommend anything for me to read? I want to be spooked. Get me spooked. Alright, if you came to watch me, thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.